The rinse YNR November 20th. Sharon meets Matt Clark's ultimatum head-on as Noah's fate slips away. In the November 20th episode of The Young and the Restless, Sharon comes face-to-face with Matt Clark for the first time in decades, and instantly realizes he holds all the power. With Noah missing, Sienna trapped, and Matt tightening the noose around the Newmans, Sharon refuses to bend to his threats. However, every second she pushes back brings Noah closer to disappearing forever. This confrontation shifts the entire trajectory of the storyline and sets off a high-stakes chain reaction the Newmans can't afford to lose. Key takeaways. Sharon confronts Matt alone and challenges every threat he makes. Nick exposes Matt's identity to undercover cops while racing the clock to find Noah. Noah and Sienna wake up imprisoned, drugged, and running out of time. What happened on YNR? Sharon wakes in her hotel room to the chilling sight of Matt Clark standing in her doorway, confirming every fear she and Nick tried desperately to suppress. Matt immediately asserts control, pushing her back and warning that any attempt to involve police will come at Noah's expense. Sharon refuses to be intimidated and demands to know why he's still terrorizing her family, but Matt's taunts only grow sharper. He reveals he targeted Noah for personal reasons, twisted justice for the way Noah treated Allie, and makes it clear that he'll continue escalating until he gets what he wants. At the same time, Nick meets undercover officers Burrow and Annie and learns Mitch Bacall is indeed Matt Clark, operating under a fabricated identity. Despite the investigation into a broader fentanyl ring, Nick insists Matt is the real threat and warns that he will kill him if necessary. The officers caution him against taking matters into his own hands, but time is slipping away, especially once they confirm Sienna is also missing. Meanwhile, Noah and Sienna regain consciousness in a locked supply room. Realizing they were drugged and transported, they piece together the truth. Matt has been watching them far longer than they understood, and whatever he planned is already in motion. Why it matters? Matt returning from the dead is more than a villain twist. It resurrects Sharon's most traumatic chapter. His assaults, framing, manipulation, and violent obsession shaped her early adulthood and left scars that never fully healed. Now, he's exploiting decades of unresolved terror to get leverage over the Newmans, and he's targeted Noah, her most vulnerable pressure point. Nick's decision to expose Matt's real identity to undercover officers escalates the danger. By naming Matt outright, he invites retaliation, and Matt wastes no time seizing that opening by confronting Sharon directly. With Noah and Sienna imprisoned and unseen, the story pivots into a survival countdown. Sharon's refusal to break gives her moral power, but it also corners Matt into raising the stakes. He orders her to call Nick and come to terms with his rules, promising a way to save Noah only if they comply. Sharon's attempt to bait him, offering herself in her son's place, only inflames Matt's need for control. Nick now races toward a meeting that could determine whether Noah lives or dies. Sharon has stepped into a psychological war she remembers too well, and Matt's ultimatum guarantees that what happens next will change the Newman family forever. Read next. The November wind tore across the ranch like it had a grudge. It rattled the windows, jostled the shutters, and rushed through the eaves with a wild moan that made the whole house feel as if it were breathing. Sharon Newman stood at the edge of the living room, shoulders pulled tight beneath her sweater, arms wrapped around herself as though that alone might provide warmth. But it wasn't the cold that made her tremble. It was the message burning on her phone, the message from a ghost she'd thought she'd buried long ago. Matt Clark, we need to talk. Face to face. Tonight. If you want Noah to survive what comes next, you won't refuse me. Sharon stared at the words, reading them again and again as if they might rearrange themselves into something harmless. Something sane. But the threat hung there, sharp as a blade. Matt Clark was supposed to be dead. Gone. Finished. And yet somehow, impossibly, he had crawled back into her life from the ashes of the past. A man like that didn't need oxygen or pulse to wreak destruction. He only needed a motive. And Sharon knew she had always been his favorite one. Her breath trembled. She closed her eyes for just a moment, long enough to see Noah's smile, hear the warmth in his voice, remember the way he hugged her the last time they'd spoken. Long enough to imagine what not surviving might mean. The clock on the wall ticked louder than usual. Not just louder, closer. The air shifted behind her. "You're pale," Nick said quietly from the doorway. "What happened?" Sharon's eyes flew open. She had practiced the art of composure for years, wearing a pleasant mask through betrayals, heartbreaks, and broken dreams, but the mask cracked tonight. There was too much history wrapped around Matt Clark's name, too much fear still buried under her ribs. Nick didn't need her words, he knew her too well. He crossed the room and gently touched her arm. "Talk to me." Sharon swallowed hard. "It's Noah." Nick's face changed instantly, concern sharpening every line. "What about him?" Sharon turned the phone toward him. "I got this message." She watched his eyes scan the screen. 2 seconds. That's all it took for his expression to go from confusion to disbelieving rage. "Matt Clark? That's impossible. He's dead." "I saw, Sharon, this has to be some sick impersonator." "I know how it sounds," she whispered. "But whoever it is, they know things. They know details Matt told no one but me." She grabbed the edges of her sweater, twisting the fabric to keep her hands steady. "And they know where Noah is." Nick's voice dropped. "And you believe them?" Sharon didn't answer. She didn't need to. Nick ran a hand through his hair. "Why didn't he call me? Why didn't Noah?" "He didn't have time." Sharon's voice broke. She steadied it. "Nick, he's in trouble. Real trouble. This isn't a hoax." Nick paced, jaw clenched. Sharon could almost see the gears in his mind turning. Father, protector, instinctive force of nature. "Then we call the police. Right now." Sharon shook her head. "If we do, Noah pays for it." That's what the message said. Nick froze. "So what? This man expects you to go alone? To just walk into whatever trap this is?" Sharon didn't have to answer again. Her silence was confirmation. Nick stepped toward her, lowering his voice to a razor-thin whisper. "You are not meeting him alone." Sharon stared at the floor. "I don't have a choice." "Yes, you do. We'll handle this together." She lifted her eyes to his. "If he sees you anywhere near me, Nick, he'll disappear, and he'll take Noah with him." He was specific. Nick inhaled sharply, chest rising with defiance. "I won't let you do this." "You can't stop me," she said softly. "I'm a mother. And I will do whatever it takes to bring our son home." The words settled between them, thick with truth. Finally, Nick exhaled and stepped back. "Then I'm tracking your phone." Sharon managed a thin smile. "I figured you would." He tried to match the smile but couldn't. "Be careful," he said, voice raw.